Welcome to NewsX. We're live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125, across all our social media handles. We're Joe News on TV. Coming up within the next 60 minutes, Ablekuma North still without a member of parliament as yet another recollation exercise ends inconclusively. Also coming up, we'll take a closer look at President John Dramani Mahama's stance on import duties. We'll share our research with you and engage some key stakeholders on this. We have these plus business updates here on NewsX. My name is Bossman Asare. It's a good time to take a seat and be my guest. Thanks for choosing us. We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Now, there seems to be no end in sight to get a member of parliament for Ablekuma North. This is after stakeholders led by the Electoral Commission yet again failed to amicably resolve the impasse involving the recollation of results from that constituency. Now, both candidates, Nana Quaicoe of the New Patriotic Party and Irabna Obeng of the National Democratic Congress, all say that they have won that seat, claiming victory in the election. Now, on Wednesday, there was a scuffle when the EC and parties tried to recollate and resolve the issues. But we'll delve into that shortly. First, let's bring you a wrap of what happened yesterday. My colleague James Abeji filed this report.
The Electoral Commission has yet again suspended the collation of results for Ablekuma North constituency. You would recall that on Monday, they have been able to authenticate some 13 out of the 20 outstanding polling stations. But just before the process could kickstart today, the NDC constituency organizer for Ablekuma North, Musa Kalami, raised some concerns accusing the EC of not telling the truth to the public when he says all 13 polling stations had been authenticated on Monday.
Some of the POs, when they met the returning officer, they told the returning officer they can't confirm the figures on the scanned pink sheet of MPP. The returning officer of Ablekuma North, Mr. Obin, came in front of you, the media, and told you all the 13 POs that they brought here confirmed the figures on the pink sheets. I am now going to introduce or bring in a PO who came in the last time and said he did not confirm the figures on the pink sheets.
The presiding officer for the polling station in question have also been telling his side of the story.
No, I didn't, because there were some figures on it and some handwritings weren't mine. That's what I told the returning officer when I came last Monday.
Handwritings on the pink sheet wasn't
figures, and some part of the handwritings wasn't mine. That's what I told the returning officer. That was what happened on Monday.
You feel the handwritings, the writings were manipulated?
I can't say. I just know it's not mine, so I don't know where from.
What about the signature?
The signature was mine. The name was mine too. The name was mine. The signature was mine.
So you did not authenticate it?
No, I didn't authenticate it because I told the returning officer.
The EC kick-started the process to authenticate the collation pink sheet of some 7 outstanding polling stations. But in the middle of the collation process, there was chaos.
How the NDC organizer did on the 8th of December in Ablekuma North. All the TV stations, you are seeing
So you see the police trying to make an arrest. One person is currently being pushed out of the collation room. The other official that the police are trying to take out of the room now is the NDC organizer for the Ablekuma North constituency. The police are intervening now, asking that he's been brought back to the collation center. But at the end of the day, the EC has been able to authenticate only 4 out of the 3 constituent polling stations. Here is the returning officer for the constituency.
We came today. We've been able to do 4 out of the 7. So we are left with 3 more. We brought our presiding officers here. 2 came, and they couldn't authenticate the statement of pool and declaration form. 1 said she can't come. So that is the 3 now. It's so unfortunate for me to make this statement that I'm done with Ablekuma North. They should find a new returning officer to continue their work for them. Thank you.
You haven't got in there. You haven't got in there.
When you call me, I don't come.
You haven't got in there. I think it is out of frustration that he's saying what he said. And I understand him, but I don't think that's the end of the road. We'll get him back. The other guy said that he can also not deny or affirm. We'll give ourselves time. There's another person who's a lady. He said that even if we bring Caterpillar, he will not come back because of what they have gone through. And my sadness is that if we are doing this to our own people, 2024 is not the only time we'll have election. We will have election in 2028. Are we sure that we will have dedicated people to come and serve Mother Ghana? Truth will always be the truth. So that's what I would say.
The NPP's parliamentary candidate, Quaicoe, has also been responding to what has been happening in the course of the day.
By the grace of God, truth will stand. In the first place, I appreciate the justice system that we should go and collate. And I am firm. I want to say on record that I will fight this till end because I know I won.
As it stands now, the final result cannot be declared because the EC would have to go back to authenticate the rest 3 of the outstanding polling stations. It is unclear when they will come back to do that and declare the final result. My name is James Savage, reporting for Joy News.
Well, my colleague James Savage filed that report, just putting a spotlight on that constituency at Ablekuma North. Now, we have in the studio the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbande. We'll be delving into that. We have joined us via Zoom, Evans Niwakon. He is Director of Elections and Research for the NPP. I also have with me Justice Abdullahi. He is a lawyer as we look at Ablekuma North constituency. I would start from Mustafa Gbande in the studio. This whole back and forth about Ablekuma North as a political party, what is your stance?
Well, so good morning to our cherished listeners and, of course, my other colleagues on the other side, especially Evans Niwakon. I can imagine how it looks like when you are a director of election and your party have lost by a margin of 1.7 million. Now, we in the NDC believe that this whole act of recollation is, first of all, an illegality. It's an affront to our laws. Number 2, we also believe that much as we have our rights, we also are mindful of the fact that we just took over government. Here we are, results that were declared, not by foreigners, by the Electoral Commission's own officials, supervised by the security agencies led by the police service. Today, we are being told that the same group of people within the same entity must recollate and redeclare their own results, which they previously have declared.
The EC's argument is clear. It said that in collating the results and declaring Arabna Obeng winner of that seat, they failed to collate results of 20 different polling stations. The reason why the High Court granted the NDC's mandamus application for recollation...
I'll not even go into the specifics, but generally, we want the Electoral Commission to further expose itself. One, for the rest of the world to see that we are having officials within an entity who are manufacturing their own laws, of course, who are not following what statutes have established them to do, perpetuating injustice and impunity. Look, we've had a very peaceful election. One of the most peaceful elections in the last 12 years was this election. Every chaotic situation, disagreement, argument that you have seen anywhere throughout the country was as a result of the Electoral Commission's incompetence. At some instances, the Electoral Commission taking a partisan posture. At other instances, the Electoral Commission trying to perpetuate an illegality. And that let these bits and pieces of evidence crystallize very well in the minds of Ghanaians. At the right time, we'll clean the commission up. Look, we have to go back and have a commission that will conduct an election where there can't be an argument as to who won and who have not won. Yesterday, you saw it.
As a political party, I want to find out from you, because you already served a notice that you'll be clearing the Electoral Commission up. So what does this mean? Does it mean that a lot of people would go the leadership of the party? Are you going to remove Jean Mensah?
Before I go there, yesterday you saw a situation where an individual who is appointed to supervise an election coming out to say that I'm done. I cannot be part of it anymore.
That's the presiding officer.
Two.
He was quite frustrated.
Individuals coming to say, this is not my signature. I can't authenticate their own signature. I should tell you that we are dealing with a commission which in itself is an enterprise of illegality. Okay, so back to your question. Whether or not the NDC will remove or the government will remove Jean Mensah, I think it's in Jean Mensah's own interest. Bossman Asare, Serebuor Quaicoe, and the rest of the commissioners to resign.
Why?
So that Ghana would have a commission where we'll go to subsequent elections and the NDC and the MPP do not have to argue where one commissioner belongs or one commissioner do not belong. It's a recipe for chaos. And that should not have happened under a constitutional republic, under a republic where rule of law is what reigns. For me, I believe that the elected president has a mandate and a national responsibility. The nation have called on him to bring sanctity, order, and discipline in this country. And one of the institutions is the Electoral Commission and the judiciary. And I believe that it is in the interest of the commissioners, whether NDC or MPP, it is in their interest to resign. They shouldn't even wait for petitions and the public to react to get them out. When the people don't need you any longer, if you are wise and smart, you will feel it and you will hear it.
As a political party, are you booting them out?
We won election under Jean Mensah, right? So it is not NDC advocating for Jean Mensah's removal. When they conducted Afrobarometer research, they didn't speak to NDC people. They spoke to the people of Ghana who believe that Ghanaians, and the report was that majority of Ghanaians do not have confidence in the Electoral Commission. Whether their intention and their services was well intended or not, Ghanaians think that they are a source of chaos, they are a source of trouble. And look, throughout the Christmas when we are done with elections and people wanted to go for Christmas, we're having to deal with a situation where Ghanaians are unstable because the Electoral Commission have created chaos. And that, for me, is a worry for our country. It's pestilence avoidably. And so the NDC...
I'm wondering, as a political party, because I know that when it comes to collation of results, you invested heavily on your technicalities and ensuring that you have results from all polling stations. As a political party, what happened to your pink sheets for the 20 constituencies or polling stations, I beg your pardon, in contention?
Look, when we had a peaceful election on 7 December, at some point between the hours of 3 p.m. and 8 December, the government decided to deploy military, armed military into certain polling stations who interfered with the election, and it became chaotic. And so in the process, we had people destroying ballot boxes, ballot papers, and these chaotic incidents ensued because we have a commander of the Ghana Armed Forces who believed he can use soldiers to overturn the verdict at certain places. But trust me, the NDC was able to collate our figures. But when you have collated your figures in record times, and I give credit to my senior brother, Dr. Omanibuama, and his team, and of course, all of us who have worked on this project. When you have gotten your figure, there's a need for transportation of pink sheets. In the process of transportation and moving these pink sheets was when the distractions occurred. So that is what happened at the various polling stations, which is why in Ablekuma or other places, you find out that 20 pink sheets or others cannot be found. In Sawam Aduajiri, for example, you have an MP who brought in soldiers shooting sparingly at people in this modern Ghana. And my frustration is that when all these facts are hidden from the media, and the media look at the reaction and are unsatisfied with it, behind the scene, why should a member of parliament deploy soldiers who should shoot at civilians in an election?
So we'll come to talk about the pockets of hooliganism we are reporting post the election and the allegations that some of these acts are being spearheaded by the NDC. So stay with me. Okay. Let me go on Zoom now. I'll speak to Evans Simaku shortly because they're also contesting the Ablekuma North seats. They claim that they have won that seat by some 414 votes. And so it begs the question, where lies their data? Let me bring in Justice Abdullah. He is a lawyer. We're looking at this whole back and forth with regards to Ablekuma North, and we're looking at the legalities. What are your initial thoughts? It appears I have lost connection to Justice Abdullah. Do I have a better connection to Evans Simaku? Well, unfortunately, whilst we work on those technicalities, you could share your thoughts with us on how best you feel we can deal with the issue happening at Ablekuma North. On all our social media handles, we're Joe News on TV. I come back to you, Mustafa, in the studio, because right now, as a political party, what would best suit, as a party, would you prefer that we organize fresh elections for Ablekuma North, or would you be okay to just let the EC conduct their job?
Look, what is happening, or what happened yesterday, is what we call impunity, supervised by a judiciary that has a subtle political influence. And the NDC believe that we are better off helping His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to stabilize his young government than to get distracted. At the right time, we will respond to every single one of the illegalities being perpetuated, not just in West. But let me tell you, we left these technical aspects for the members of the election directorate to handle. Having said that, the whole exercise is a complete illegality, and my brother Evans knows that it's a recipe for chaos, it's a recipe for confusion and misunderstanding if the NDC, which is the other side, choose to respond. We are, we are speaking to our people to continue to foster orderliness, patience, just so we allow the president to stabilize himself.
Okay, stay with me, Mustafa. Let me bring in Justice. Now I have better connection to him. And thank you for your time here on Newsdesk. We're looking at the legalities of the back and forth happening at Ablekuma North. I want your thoughts as a lawyer.
Thank you. So, specifically, I don't know whether I can hear me at this moment. Hello?
Hello, Justice Abdullah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much. My apologies.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm looking at the recollation, as we have come to call it. It's a bit worrying that at this point we are on this stage. I think it is unfair for me to be the judge of this whole scenario when I've already, I think on the 7th and the 8th of January, indicated that the Electoral Commissioner has brought more chaos to our electoral systems than ever. So it makes my judgment of the of events a bit unfair, because clearly I have never been impressed with her work, right? Actually, from the last election, the last two elections, when she had to declare the results more than 3-4 occasions. And so I think I'm prejudiced against her, and for obvious reasons, because of her incompetence. And so I would rather, if you ask me about the legalities or otherwise of what is happening, we have had to make laws to ban hooliganisms and all these other political crimes that I tend to call them. And so I think that the best would have been that we did not come to this point of having to deal with hooligans, whether from political actors or otherwise. I think that we probably, if you had a more proactive electoral commissioner, a competent electoral commissioner, a commissioner that knew his work, we wouldn't be where we are. I remember having to describe this scenario we have ourselves. We confronted with us a system of playing soccer where the two football teams have gone back to their various homes after the whistle has been blown, and the referee is still on the pitch, still trying to determine who won and who did not win. I have never seen that happen. It's clearly unfair. And then when eventually he decides that who won and they protest, he invites them over that they should come and do a replay for him to decide on who actually won. Clearly, that is not sportsmanship, and that is unlawful, within the scheme of our law. But of course, they've got the blessings of the court to do the recollation, and so it's no longer within the realm of illegality if you look at it from that angle, because it's the sanction of the court, and once the court says go ahead and do it. And they knew they couldn't have done it without the court's blessings, because there was no legal basis for doing that, which is why they had to go to court for the blessings to undertake the recollation, which happened. But my response, simple response, that we shouldn't be here at this point in our life. After running the 9th election in any country, in any system whatsoever, we should be matured enough after having done this 9 times to be far advanced, far from where we are today. We shouldn't be where we are.
Okay, thank you, Justice Abdullah. We're making frantic efforts to reconnect with Evans Nimako so that we can get the NPP side of the story. And as soon as we have him, we'll have that discussion. But let me come to the studio as we wrap up the conversation, Mustafa Gbande. There are pockets of hooliganism being recorded post the elections. Most have alluded to the fact that some of these acts are being perpetrated by the NDC. As a political party, I'm sure it has come to your attention. The most recent one at Cocoa Board, Tema. And so I'm wondering, what's the political party stance and what are you doing to ensure this stops?
Thank you very much. I think that when you refer to those things as hooliganism, I tend to differ a bit. However, some of the actions are highly condemnable, and we've stated that in the last few days. President-elect reiterated same. Leadership of the party agrees same. But this is it. We have come to a point where elections were successfully conducted. The NDC have won an election. The MPP have lost. Here we are. A government that was supposed to demonstrate responsibility went to sleep. And that you had government functionaries and public servants, including appointees who still have hands within the government, stealing state assets left, right, and center. At other places, they've waited and waited until they lost elections. They then realized that suddenly they had to do promotions. I think this is unprofessional, and you know that. That is not how Joy FM is run. And certainly that should not be how we run our country.
So are you saying as a political party you're endorsing the acts of hooliganism?
No. Two, the reactions that you see are not NDC young men and women alone. The victory of the NDC was orchestrated by young people of this country, which included the NDC youths, Ghanaian youths who are apolitical, the MPP youths who believe that their leaders were greedy and selfish and betrayed them. And for that matter, they will partner with our young people to show us or to show our people where the stolen things are. I don't know where any government official stays. It is the MPP people who knows that. They bring our boys and they go there. So what we are doing is to engage them, de-escalate the situation, redirect their energy into positive use. I do not think that is an energy we should discard and completely vandalize.
As a political party, you
because
condemn this act of hooliganism, don't you?
No, yesterday in the night, between the hours of 12 and 3 a.m., I didn't sleep. Okay? These young people have gone to arrest 3 trailers on the Amasaman Road carrying government fertilizer. 4 trailers around Achimota carrying government fertilizer. Where were they taking it to meet?
Under whose orders?
So that is what we don't know. So what we did is they actually detained the trailers. We called in the police. The police took control. We moved the drivers of the trucks back to where they loaded the fertilizer. And this is about, when they went to the place, about 90,000 bags of fertilizer was in that warehouse, belonging to the states. So who is giving who an order to be moving those resources of the state without government knowing? Number 2, we had places where if you go to national security now, all the vehicles of national security have been stolen. Who stole these vehicles and who was supposed to ensure that these things don't happen? So much as some of the things the young people do is out of order, condemnable and unacceptable, I will not be one person who will vandalize their energy. I would rather hope that the media and all Ghanaians will help for us to reshape this kind of energy into positive use. And let me also tell you, this is the first time we are experiencing to the minimal post-election and post-transition spillovers. The minimal. Nobody have been killed. They have not robbed anybody. They have not killed anybody. They have not beaten anybody. It's not the same as you saw in 2016.
Oh, but some people have been robbed.
No, nobody has been robbed.
Esla's residents were ransacked by individuals.
Look, yesterday I went to Gbande in the morning. And because I got to know that some youths were at the DVLA, only for me to get there. And it was full of NDC and MPP young men who stand there to do Goro boys, who sell these, all these DVLA accessories for vehicles. A private developer directly opposite the DVLA hired laggards to come and drive away all of those people who they call hawkers at the place.
Okay, we have just one more minute
because the
to wrap
argument
up.
is that they say that because the young people stand there, people are not buying materials or logistics of his people who are occupying it. And so this is an act of it. Will you call them NDC people? So it is not all the places, the incidents you see, that you have to associate it to political young people. If there's robbery, who is supposed to do an arrest? The police. So I want to call on the IGP and the CDS at this point to make sure that there's order in the country. Nobody have been arrested such that I can say that they are NDC people. No. Okay. The police should protect the state properties, the vehicles that are being stolen. Brandon Champon, for example,
we have to, at this point, take a break. Unfortunately, I'm told we've run out of time. Thank you so much, Mustafa Gbande, for your time here on Newsdesk. Just giving us a wrap of some of the key things. The party is distancing itself from the acts of hooliganism that has been reported in parts of the country. Now, we also discussed Ablekuma North seat. The party is contesting that seat and the elections. Now, when we come back, we would talk about President John Dramani Mahama's first 100 days in office. We will focus on the Importers and Exporters Association and their key demands as we look at the president's first 100 days in office. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on Newsdesk. Now, just before we start our second conversation, I'd like you to know that the minority, they held a press conference a while ago, and that press conference was addressed by the Deputy Minority Leader, Patricia Appiagyei. They raised key concerns about attacks on state institutions. They want the president to halt what they call alleged supporters attacking state institutions. And we'll be taking you to Parliament shortly to speak to our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kwekwa Asante. But before that, as the countdown to President John Dramani Mahama's first 120 days in office continues, we are taking a closer look at his stance on import duties. The critical question remains, will he scrap them entirely or opt for rationalization? Additionally, we'll delve into the opportunity cost of John Dramani Mahama's campaign promises on import duties and assess their broader implications for the economy. Well, the Joy News Research Desk, they have been studying the President's Manifesto. Lead data and research analyst Kofi J joins me with more on this. Kofi, let's start with what exactly you have found. When it comes
firstly, I think beyond the 120 days social contract that the president has with the people of Ghana, which we believe is a subset of a bigger document, which is the manifesto. It will be good to study both documents, side by side. And so what we did was to look at the language that was used in the manifesto, and the question you asked whether it is going to be a complete scrap of some of the, the import duties or rationalization. So we were able to find both sides of the coin. The fact that there was a side that speaks about scrapping of certain import duties. And so if you look at the first slide that talks about the import duties that will be scrapped, which was mainly based on vehicles and equipment imported into the country for industrial and agricultural purposes. So definitely, the John Dramani Mahama administration wants to scrap import duties on vehicles and equipment imported into the country, and they were very specific for industrial and agricultural purposes. And there was a side that, that has become the bone of contention about rationalization. We also were able to find that side as well. On import duties, the NDC wants to, rationalize import duties, fees, and charges to reduce the cost of doing business in the country. So import duties in general will be rationalized according to the NDC manifesto. And then you also have some fees and charges to be reduced, to be actually rationalized to reduce the cost of business. So, I mean, if you're asking me about what the manifesto said about, the scrapping and rationalization, we're able to find the two. The scrapping will go to the import duties on vehicles for agricultural purposes, and then you have a whole rationalization of import duties in general.
Now, let's look at the implications. What would this mean for government financial coffers if they decide to scrap some of this and also rationalize the rest?
Scrapping and rationalizing, and if you look at the tonation of the president, rationalizing means reducing some of the tolls, especially the import duties, especially if you are clearing a vehicle and all of that. And so all boils down to that big opportunity cost of the 10% of the country's total revenue that is at stake at the moment. That is how much import duties contribute to the kitty. It's about 10% almost every year to the country's total revenue. And if you do the math this year, 2025, although we do not have the full budget for the 2025 fiscal year, we understand that import duties could be bringing in some 20 to 21 billion Ghana cedis in 2025. So if you are going to rationalize import duties in general, and then also rationalize some fees and charges, as well as actually scrap import duties on vehicles imported into the country for agricultural purposes, then definitely that's going to affect the quantum of money that we will be getting from that kitty, which at the moment we believe is about 10% of the country's total revenue. So the opportunity cost at stake here, maybe we may not be able to quantify the actual cost of the rationalization and scrapping, but what we know is that the revenue at stake is about $20 billion that the government will be looking at, and how they bring it down will also send a signal into the market to see how government is going to, what will be the alternative, especially looking at the fact that we are currently under an IMF program. So any form of policy that will reduce revenue handles, definitely the John Dramani Mahama administration would have to go to the negotiation table with alternatives first.
Thank you, Kofi AJ, for bringing us that update. And we are going to be speaking to Professor Lord Mensah, as an economist, as we look at the financial implications of some of these tax cuts and also rationalization that the president is proposing. But with me in the studio is Samson Asare. He is a leading member of the Importers and Exporters Association. Thank you so much for your time here.
Thank you.
He is executive.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. As an executive secretary, I'm sure you're pleased with some of these implementations that this government is hoping to put forth. But I'm looking at the tax cuts actually would only affect individuals who are importing vehicles for agricultural purposes. As an association, what are your thoughts about that?
All right, so first and foremost, let me use this opportunity since the inauguration of President Mahama, second term in the office. I always use this opportunity to congratulate him. We at the business community are very happy in the sense that before his party manifesto was drafted and presented to Ghanaians, he met with the maritime trade community, and which I had the privilege to be part, and we raised so many issues. He also told us what he was going to do, and at the end of the day, that became the policy that we are all going to discuss this morning. And let me congratulate him for his inauguration, because there was one of the successful inauguration that nothing happened. So many presidents came from other countries, with now and former presidents. And so this was a historic event for the former president and the current president, John Dramani Mahama. Let me say that yes, in the business community, we are very optimistic that the president will do a good job. I have seen your analyst who says that what import duty that add to total GDP is 10%. Yeah. And so I also see people raising issues in regards to, even my own brothers from Ghana Union of Traders are also calling that, I don't know if it's authentic, that the e-levy should be used to support women in SMEs, yes, and then to scrap it off. Yeah. And so these are all contributions people are bringing. But the president said, when he was a candidate, said, I'm going to scrap all these things. So those who are also calling that, don't scrap it, but keep it and use it to support this area, I think it's also not a bad place. That means that we've opened for another chapter of conversation. So it doesn't look like if at the end of the day, e-levy is not scrapped, people cannot say that President Mahama has made a promise and refused to implement it. But I think Ghanaians are making it a genuine call. Yes, as I said, President Mahama's focus is that we want, I think, and many Ghanaians know that we import a lot, especially when you come to food sector. Okay, so he wants to give opportunity to commercialize farmers. So I think that this is policy of scrapping import duties on vehicles and agricultural equipment. He's talking about people who would want to go into commercialized farming, like he himself. You know, he went to his farm in Bole. You saw how huge the farm was. So such a person needs like 5-10 tractors, needs irrigation equipment that if there is so that he can do all year round. You know, in the northern part of Ghana, we does farming only one season. So, but in the southern part of Ghana, we does farming continuously. So the old thing to support, to reduce unemployment is to introduce irrigation farming so that we do not have only one time 3 to 4 months farming season, but we can have all year round farming. And I think that is the way to go. So to produce more food, so to make food available for all of us, is the way forward is to do commercialized farming. And that is why we want to give tractor equipment and other things, farm input, some discount. The other aspect is the COVID levy, which we all know that COVID levy, we do not have COVID. And so if COVID is no more an epidemic, why do we continue to have COVID levy? It was one of the things that he said in his 120 days, they will scrap that COVID levy. Maybe others may also come, like Guta is calling that, to use that money to support women in SMEs. Maybe another person will come and say, can we use that money to support maybe the Kaido, okay, the Kaido issues that is happening at Kolebu, where the dialysis machine and other things, we don't have it.
As an association, I want to know your stance. I'm sure you are pleased about government's proposal to scrap some of this.
You know, it was non-negotiable. We have actually called that business community transfers huge money to pay duties and taxes and fees and charges, as we talk about. And so you use mobile money, because GRA has a portal that you can use mobile money to pay your duty through your Mumbo.
Okay.
And so once you transfer huge monies, charges affect you. Do you understand? So it was a non-negotiable. We were calling that it should be abolished. 2, the COVID levy, we were also calling that whilst there's no COVID, whilst the World Health Organization scrap off COVID levy and said that COVID is no more a pandemic, then there was no need to introduce COVID. So for that matter, COVID levy should go off. It was something that would not culture. In fact, there's another component of import duty. That is the 2% special import duty. It used to be 1% and 2%.
Okay.
But in the MPP 2017, abolished the 1%. And that 1% was the one that metamorphosed to come back as COVID levy. So there's still a 2% that has been running since 2017. It should have gone off 2017. It's still running in our books now, as we speak now. So scrapping or redoing rationalization of the duties, taxes, and fees and charges is something that we're also looking for, because this is a technical word President Mahama used. He wasn't specific. If, like, think his predecessor, or what, should I say, his counterpart, like his Bamaya, he was campaigning like if he come, he will make a flat rate. You understand? So, if I'm bringing 40 container of rice, maybe rice is being imported in 20 container, and maybe I know that my duty is maybe 200,000 Ghana cedis. So it's predictable. I know that when I when I ship in 20 container to Ghana, I'm going to pay the duty at 200,000. So it's predictable. I know that I arrive in Ghana, and I'm now asking how much I'm going to pay. So these are some of the things that he wants to do. So we wait to see the rest, and I'm sure he will not just do rationalization without consulting us. Definitely, he will want to have a meeting with the stakeholders again to discuss with us and to so that we all agree which area.
But even before the elections, I know that he held a meeting with some of the key stakeholders in the sector.
Yes, that's what I said.
A key member of that.
Yes,
what did you agree upon over there?
No, that's the thing. The issues raised. The issues raised that some of these taxes should be scrapped off.
Okay.
Which was captured, found its way to the manifesto. Okay. The only term that he did not use, is to rationalize the tax. It was after when the manifesto was launched. That's where we got to know that he said they will realize fees and charges, and duties, isn't it? Yeah. So some of the fees and charges we have been complaining as the business community that, look, it's like the institutions working in the port. When I talk about the institutions, I'm talking about the Ghana Standards Authority, FDA, veterinary services, all the agencies working in the port there. It's like if they see FDA introduce a fee, and you know the thing that FDA does, Then you see Standards Authority also want to increase. Then the rest is like it escalates. Okay, it cut across. They are all increasing, which they are not a revenue generation authority. They are just to perform some certain functions. And you cannot charge more than the functions that you are performing. It should be commensurate with the service that you are doing. So maybe if you want to bring them all together, just okay, charge one particular fee and share among across board. I don't know how that is going to be done, but I think he will want to have a national conversation or engage we and those agencies.
Okay.
Then the other aspect that we are looking forward to President Mahama to do is there's a call, and it wasn't captured in his manifesto, the local handling charges by shipping lines. It was silent on the manifesto. We raised this, that how come that I pay a fee, I pay a freight to bring my container to Ghana.
Okay.
And when my container landed in Ghana, I have 5 of them on one document, one bit of lading.
Okay.
Then I have paid freight to you to bring those 5 containers. Then coming for you to release my container for me, get the pressure of a button, you want to charge me 10,000 times 5 on one document.
Stay with me because I know you have a lot to share. Let me bring in Professor Lord Mensah as we look at the opportunity cost of government's decision to scrap some of these import duties on importation of vehicles for agricultural production purposes, and also rationalization of some of these taxes. Thank you, Professor Lord Mensah, for your time here on NewsX. We have seen that this would come at a cost. Roughly 10% we are foreseeing. Seeing that we're already under an IMF program where we're supposed to ensure that...
Not 10%. He said...
10%.
Said that the revenue coming from imports.
Okay, you hold on with me. Let me make my point. Professor Lord Mensah, so I want to look at the opportunity cost of how much government would be letting go of if they go ahead to implement some of these tax cuts they are proposing.
Yeah, so we have to be careful how we interpret, the numbers out there. If I break down import and levies, I'm going by the ERA's report. Let me say, good morning to our viewers and good morning to our fellow partners, my fellow panelists out there. Clearly, if you break down the numbers, going by the 2023, annual report by the GRA, you appreciate that import duties constitute about almost 14 billion out of the 116.97 billion that the country generated out of, tax collection levies. Now, I think the proposal by the NDC administration is not to scrap import duties. I mean, Ghana, we can't not run the economy on...
And that we have established already.
Yes, we cannot run on import-free. But then there are some, new sales taxes that I think, is impeding production in terms of importation. And that is where probably the administration may have to look at. And when you put all together, that will not be more than 6% of what revenue that is generated for the country. So from where I sit, I think you have to look at it in 2 ways. In as much as there will be a cost, we also have to look at the multiplier effect of allowing this cost when possibly these levies are removed and import is increased. We're running on an economy where we have to import more than, we export. And when it happens like that, you always need certain levels of importation to energize the economy. And so if there are levies and taxes that are stampeding or possibly reducing importation, then probably you may have to, look at it. Somebody will say, yes, of course, we've signed an agreement with the IMF program, and as a result of that, we have hedged, our revenue, possibly promising IMF that by the end of the program, we should be able to increase our revenue to 18% to GDP. But we may have to understand that some of these taxes, right, and some of these levies, in their, holding up at the port, more or less will reduce importation. And so economic activities that are supposed to be generated as a result of importation, we're not getting them as much. So if you take, for instance, import COVID, health recovery, levy. I mean, that is giving us around 706 million. I'm going by the GRA's, annual report. And this is not up to 1% of the entire revenue that we rake in, at the end of the year. So effectively, we need to understand that, one, if businesses are saying, COVID levy is causing a problem, and therefore, more or less should be removed to enhance, import, I think government should hit to it. But let's also look at the expenditure side. Somebody will say, yes, it is a cost to the government to allow some of these, levies to go. But then we also have to look at the expenditure side, what we can make up. So we don't have to look at only the revenue side. Because if you look at the revenue side, you may be deceived. You may be deceived in the sense that there are some, expenditure lines that can be given up, to allow in the losses that the government made, in the immediate term. Now we are looking at a government that has given the signal that, look, we don't need money in the immediate term. So possibly we may have to allow, imports to go on so the economic activities can be created, and by so doing we generate, the income.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Lord Mensah. Unfortunately, we have to let you go, but point well noted. Let me take just 30 seconds to just get the final words of Samson Asare Awigobed. For our audience who just tuned in, we're just putting the spotlight on President John Dramani Mahama's position on import duties. He served notice that he will scrap import duties on vehicles and equipment imported into the country for industrial and agricultural purposes, and rationalization for other fees and charges to reduce the cost of doing business. Your final words, 30 seconds.
Yes, so as I was saying, President Mahama will have to also look at that call by the business community, because that is also a burden on the business community. The shipping lines that will pay freight, they get to Ghana, they say that I have 10 containers on one docket, one bit of lading. You say you are charging me 10 times, gets to release, gets to place a button, how many times? And this shipping line does not add any value to any importer who bring a container. Meanwhile, you've taken freight. So that is another cost, huge cost that people, if I tell you how much people pay to these shipping lines, get for no work done. Not that you've run to demurrage. Demurrage here is when you're holding their container after demurrage, seven free days. But this one gets local handling charges. It's an area that if President Mahama is able to step down his foot, the next transport minister is able to step down his foot and make sure that they scrap it off. That alone, we will not even be talking about 2% special import levy or even 2% COVID levy. That alone is a huge money that business communities are paying. Then, of course, I think, as he said, President Mahama is not coming to scrap any duties, but he's going to make an environment say that at least he will cushion the business community, so that instead of taking our container to Ivory Coast and
we've just told you he's scrapping import duties on vehicles imported for industrial and agricultural purposes.
Yes,
so he's indeed scrapping import duties.
No.
So it's not inaccurate.
No, so that one that I said that is for purpose of industrialization.
Exactly.
The only thing that we need to know is that what vehicle that will go to industries that you want to scrap.
Yeah.
What vehicle? But for agri, we know. You and I, we know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So maybe he's talking about machinery. The industry, maybe someone who wants to bring in machinery to set up a factory. That one, taxes will not be on it. So when you say scrapping of vehicles, duties on vehicles and agricultural machinery, I will need to ask further so that they can explain. I think probably they want to say that machinery to set up industries and not vehicle for industries.
Thank you so much, Samson, for giving us your thoughts here on News X. And that's how we wrap up the conversation. In subsequent bulletin, we'll take you to Parliament. We told you that the minority, they held a press conference. My name is Faustina Safo. Have a pleasant day as you enjoy the rest of our programs.